Today I'm going to show you how to use a mechanical scale. So you always want to make sure that your patient is standing in the correct position. So as you can see, these are wrong positions, and this one right here is actually correct. Patient is standing face forward, away from the scale. This is the lever that you could use to bring the scale up and down. 12 inches equal 1 foot, right? 24 inches equals how many foot? 2 foot. 36 inches equals 3 foot. So it's very important to know your measurements. All right, always remember 12 inches equals 1 foot. This is the lever that sits on top of the patient's head. Then you'll collect the numbers or whatever height, pretty much where my thumb is at. So as you can see, let's say if we stop it here, the patient stepped off, and now we see 63 inches, which means that the patient is 5 feet 3 inches. All right, very, very important. Collect the numbers from where my thumb is at currently on the bottom. All right, so we asked our patient to step off. Let's see how tall this patient is. So 69 inches, as you can see right here. So the patient is 5 feet 9 inches. So your patient would be standing like this, and then you ask the patient to step off. Means that the patient is 5 feet 6 inches and a half. Ask the patient to step off. Let's check and see what the patient height is. The patient is 55 inches, which makes the patient 4 feet 7 inches. All right, so remember, this sits on top of the patient's head, right there in the center. You ask the patient to please step off so you can actually see. It has to be in the middle of the head, as you can see. Patient steps off. This patient is 65 inches, right? Which means that the patient is 5 feet 5 inches. All right, let's ask this patient to step off. All right, so let's go down to the middle and let's see how tall this patient is. This patient is 70 inches, which means that the patient is 5 foot 10 inches. All right. So let's ask this patient to step off. 79 inches. For children, obviously we're not going to be using the lever. You'll pretty much ask them to stand against the scale. Place your fingers where the top of the head was and ask them to step off, and you'll see, just like how I just measured just now. Keep your fingers on top of the head so you know exactly where to collect your measurement from, your height from. All right, very important. If you have to watch this video over and over, please do. You're not going to learn this overnight. It's very important. Whenever you work in a hospital or clinic, we do take measurements of patient's height, especially if they're a new patient. Ask your patient to step off. Look at the center. As you can see, 69 inches, which means this patient is 5 feet and 9 inches. All right. If you work in a hospital or clinic, you can ask the patient to take off their shoes so they can stand properly against the scale. The patient is always facing towards you. Ask the patient to step off, and please do not put your hands around their necks. All right. I'm just showing you a demonstration. Do not place your hands around any patient's necks. All right, so I'm just going to go through the numbers. We're going to get ready to close up. 60 inches equals 5 foot. 63 inches equals 5 foot 3 inches. Remember, 60 is at least 5 foot. Whenever you see 60, it's at least 5 foot. So if you have 64 inches, which means the patient was 5 foot 4 inches. So I'm just going to go over a few. Pretty much just look where my thumb is at. 67 inch, which means the patient is 5 foot 7 inches. 5 foot 7 inches. So pay attention to where my thumb is at. I'm moving a little bit faster because you should be able to catch up now. 70 inches. 5 foot 10 inches. Very important. Just pay attention to where my thumb is at. Go ahead and guess some of these numbers. All right. I want you to start picking up on this. 72 inches is considered 6 foot. So whenever you have someone who has a number of more than 72 inches, which means that the patient is definitely 6 foot. If you happen to have someone who's 73 inches, that patient is 6 foot 1 inch. 72 inches is considered 6 foot. Do you see that the number looks a little bit different here? That's much thicker and it's bold. Another thing as well, just pay attention to where my fingers are at. Just start going ahead and guessing some of these numbers, all right? Make sure you watch this video as many times as you need to. The measurements is exactly where my fingers are at. The patient steps off the scale and you bring this down safely once you got your measurements.